Hello, welcome to Non-Inkables. I wanted to come on today and talk about a competition that I competed in today called Revenge of the Fifth Tournament. So it was online through Pixelborn slash Lorcana Play Network, and it was hosted by Taya Beastie. This is the second time I have played in a competition online. The first time I played was in April prior to set championships. So in April, I played in a competition that was the 10K charity tournament. And in that competition, I played a Emerald Steel deck, and it was prior to set championships. I think it was like maybe the first time I'd really played the Emerald Steel deck. So I was still kind of figuring out how it worked, and I wasn't very sure. In that competition, I ended up playing 210th out of 367. So not great, but also not in the bottom. So I was pretty happy with how I did that one, just because that was my first competition ever, real or online. I guess online is technically real, so I mean like real life or online. And so this is the second time that I have played in one. So the one today was called Revenge of the Fifth. So the one I played last time, the 10K charity tournament, there were 9 total rounds, and it was best of 2. Well, technically not best of 2, but 2 games per round, Swiss format. I think it was one of the first times best of 2 had been used in a competition. And I think, based on the fact that it was like my first competition and I had never played competitively, it was still pretty early. I think it was prior to set championships. I did pretty well, I would say. 210 out of 367. So this time I placed 48th out of 285, so in the top 100. So I think a big improvement. And also based on the person I played in the last round, he said that if either of us had 2-0'd that last round, we could have made it possibly to top 16, which to me is like very super unexpected. Which is kind of like how I felt at set championships, where they're like, oh, if you 2-0 this, you can make top 8. So similar things. So I wanted to talk about my experience this time. These are my notes. I felt like I should show them. They're super nerdy. I got this notebook when I was in Japan, and it's not even lined. It just has tiny little boxes. So those are my notes. So in my notes, I have the round, what table I was, what standing I was prior to the round starting, who I played, both their name on Lorcana Play Network and then also their name on Pixelborn in case I see them again. I don't know. I'm just keeping track. And then what color they played, and then if I went first or second first, and then if I won or lost. And I played Ruby Amethyst this time. So when I first started playing Lorcana, the first deck I played was Ruby Amethyst because purple is my favorite color. And Ruby Amethyst, it was during set 2, so Ruby Amethyst was killing it at that time anyways. So I started with Ruby Amethyst, and Brian is always like, I think you should play Ruby Amethyst. It really seems to be more your vibe and your style. And I was like, but I want to play Emerald Steel. So I played Emerald Steel for set championships, and then I kind of lost it after that one set championships where I won, and then I forgot how to play somehow. And then I think for the next week, every time I would play, I would just lose. And then I kind of started getting my mojo back. I don't even know. I was using mostly the same deck, and then all of a sudden I started winning again. I don't know if the meta changed or what happened, but then I was like doing okay. And then this past week, I've been playing on Pixelborn, and it just wasn't having as much fun with Emerald Steel. So I decided to go back to my roots of Ruby Amethyst. And I watched the tips and tricks video by Brendan from Podcana. That was pretty helpful. And I mean, I think a lot of times when I watch these videos of people either playing or them talking about how to play, sometimes the tips and tricks that they provide you can use, but a lot of times I feel like that specific scenario is not actually present in the games that I'm playing. And so really it's just, I think they're more helpful in terms of you can see a different way of seeing the context that you're dealing with, and so that maybe can spark different ideas about how to play a certain deck. And so I think that was probably more helpful than the actual, like, if this happens, do this, do this. Just like change how you think. So starting the game, prior to the first round happening, my standing was 12th. I think it's because I was probably the 12th person to sign up. And I was like, oh, I should screenshot this because this is the highest I'm going to be. And so round one, actually when round one, so it said standing 12, and then once round one was paired and started, it said that it was 8th. And I was like, ooh, top 8 from not playing. And then the first person I played Ruby Sapphire, and I went first the first game, and I lost. What happened in the end was that we got to the end game. They played a Tamatoa with a lucky dime, and there was nothing I could do. The second game, I was second. And same thing, they were able to drag it out to the end game when they had a ton of ink, and they did a Bell Lucky Dime combo. And I believe I had like Medusa to Bell, and then Be Prepared to Bell, and then still there was like another Bell. And so double lose that one. So after that, I went from 8th, based on when I signed up, to 198th. So I dropped 190 places. And then in round 2, I played a Sapphire Steel deck. The first game I went second and I won, and my notes for that are goat bounce for the win. So I think that is how I won. I just bounced my goat. And then the second game I went first and I lost. The problem I wrote down was not enough ink for B prep. I remember in that game I wanted to play things to get rid of his characters, and then I didn't ink, and so I think I only had 6 ink, and if I had 7 ink and I could play B prep, I would be fine, but I only had 6, and so I lost. Round 3, my standing at that time dropped to 247, so pretty low considering there's only 285 in the whole thing. And that one I played a Ruby Sapphire deck, so same one as the first round, and the first game I went second and I won, and my note says double castle, haha. So I believe I double castled them and they couldn't do anything about my castle. And then the second game I went first and I won. I think my opponent just really didn't hit their ramp, so they weren't able to ramp until maybe like 7 ink, and then I had very good draws, and it was basically I drew whatever I needed, I drew. And then round 4, so after winning 2 games there, I went up to 147. And round 4, I played a Blurple deck, so blue-purple. And the first game I went second, and I won. However, I made a note that I didn't even have a 1-drop to play that game. And then the second game I went first, and I won, and that time I also used Bouncing the Goat. And then round 5, so after round 4, which I won 2 games, I went up to 78th place. And then round 5, I played an Amber Steel deck, and which Amber Steel, I feel like when I was playing Emerald Steel was super scary, but then playing Ruby Amethyst, not as scary. And the first game I won. I think I just quested a lot, and then I did run out of cards, but then I think they played Whole New World, so then I was like, oh, thank you for the cards. And then the second game I went second and I won, but it was barely. So I think we were both very close to winning, and if my opponent had drawn a flute, they would have won. They were just 1 lore away. But luckily, even though I think they Strength of Raging fired me to try to get a card. And then I feel like they played something else to try to get a card. I can't remember what it was. But they didn't have a Whole New World. And so they did not draw that extra flute, and I was able to win. It was super close, though. So after that, my standing was 34th, and then I played a Ruby Amethyst Mirror. The first game I went first and I won. I did not have a 1-drop that game, and then I also wrote opponent plays really fast, and I think that was kind of stressful for me because I would end my turn and they would just like psh, 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 because you know in Pixelborn there's a sound effect, so it's like psh, 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 and then it'd be my turn again. I'd be like, what happened? The second game I lost. I went second, and I think my fault. I had quested with my Rafiki, which seems dumb. And so they ended up with a lot of characters on the board, and I couldn't get that many characters out to deal with it. And I did not get to be prepared, so kind of my fault. So then that dropped me down to 48th place, and I played a Emerald Amethyst deck. First game I went second, and I lost because they hyper aggroed me. They played Merfolk on 1. On 2, they played Merfolk and Merfolk. And so even though every time they quested with Merfolk, I killed the Merfolk, it was just, I couldn't catch up. It was hard for me to deal with that hyper aggro deck. And then the second game, I went first, and I lost. They were able to double sing Friends on the Other Side with Ursula. And I couldn't kill Ursula before she could do that, and that really helped them. And they said the same thing in the chat afterwards. They were like, yeah, that Ursula really saved me. I was like, that Ursula, and then also they played a true drop Ursula and took away my Be Prepared, and I was just like, oh. So yeah, Emerald Amethyst. And so that dropped me down to 79th place, which is around where I was, round 5. So this is now round 8. I played a Sapphire Steel deck. I went first the first game, second the second game, and I won both games. The only note I have for this is that they did try to do Bell Lucky Dime the second game, but it was a little too late. I had already tried to aggro my way to a win, and so it worked. And then the last round, I played a Ruby Amethyst Mirror, and at that time I was 46th place. First game, I won. Oh, and okay, so I was so excited I got to do this combo because I had heard about it and I hadn't done it yet, but I was able to play Lady Tremaine, and then to get rid of one of their characters. They had 2 characters on the board. I played Lady Tremaine, and then I shifted another Lady Tremaine onto my original Lady Tremaine. So it only cost me 10 ink to play 2 Lady Tremaines, and I got rid of both of their characters. And then I bounced it with the snake, and then I got both of my Lady Tremaines back into my hand. So that was very helpful. I also was able to play a double Queen's Castle. I think early in the game, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, I'm gonna play double Queen's Castle, and I put a Queen's Castle on the board, and then I realized I don't have a second Queen's Castle. What am I doing? So I thought that mistake maybe was gonna end the game for me, but actually did not. And then the second game, I went second and I lost. Part of it was I just couldn't get, so they had a Minnie Mouse on the board, and I also had a Minnie Mouse on the board, and I had a crab in my hand, and somehow I didn't do the calculations right so that they were able to kill my Minnie Mouse with their crab Minnie Mouse combo, and I couldn't get my second Minnie Mouse out crab combo to kill their Minnie Mouse, and so yeah, that was unfortunate. So overall, I won 11 games. The strength of my schedule, which they calculate, I don't know how, based on basically who you play and who the other people have played, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I will read the exact things on how they calculate. Okay. So some information on how they do the points for this game. So you get 3 points for each game that you win, and then you get 1 additional point if you won 2-0. And then if you had a bye, meaning your opponent didn't show up, then you would get 7 points. So the same thing as winning 2-0. And then the strength of your schedule is a weighted average of your points, which is 75%, versus your opponent's points, 25%. So my strength of schedule was 704, and I won 11 games and ended up getting 37 points total, and placed 48th out of 285, so top 50. So pretty excited about that. And then my opponent, or my last game, I was 107 out of 360 something. So I would say overall an improvement. I think, I don't know, I think in set 4 I might go back to Emerald Steel because the cards in Emerald, the new cards that they've revealed for Emerald Steel, I think excite me the most. I also really want to play an Ursula Flotsam Jetsam deck, and I think we might finally have enough Flotsam Jetsam characters for that to work out. And I also really want to play either a villains deck or a hero deck, but maybe both. Maybe I can make it so that both work out. So yeah, that is a summary of today's tournament. I will post a link to the deck I used. Basically is Brendan's deck from Podcana. I think the only change that I would make is I would add back one Be Prepared, because he only had 3, and then take out one of the 1-drop, like 1/3. So take out the extra mini, I think that's in his deck. Just because during my games, there were a couple times when having a Be Prepared would have been very helpful, and I didn't see it. And I feel like maybe that's just how my luck works in terms of draw. If I want to see a card, I have to have 4 copies of it. Otherwise, I don't see it at all. Even if there's 3, which statistically shouldn't happen, but it just seems to be my luck. So Brian also competed. He used an Emerald Steel deck, and he ended up placing 107th out of 285. So I think pretty good for his first venture into these tournaments. I think it's fun that I'm the more seasoned online tournament player by one tournament, but I feel like he's the one who introduced me to TCGs at all. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and as always, keep shuffling, and hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me. All right, bye!